When it comes to developing countries, there is poor, and then there is primitive. This is a place where growing food and hauling water by hand are the most important tasks of the day. Where going to high school is a big deal. Where going to college or starting a successful business pretty much gets you rock star status. But when you grow up here and end up here,
Good morning.
well, that's another story altogether.
So, that all looks good.
This is Dr. Anne Alaniz, an OBGYN oncologist fellow at York Memorial Hospital in York, Pennsylvania, and a native daughter of rural Malawi. And to the villages of this impoverished country, she is more than just the local girl who made good. In a world where 1 in 8 women die in childbirth, and where a child dies every 30 seconds from malaria, she represents a better, healthier future. This is Tanji village in eastern Malawi, where Annie spent much of her childhood. Like most of Malawi, it is plagued with health issues. HIV, AIDS, malaria, tuberculosis, and cholera run rampant.
I want to thank you again for coming here, and I'm always proud to bring my friends from America with me because I want them to see where I grew up and why I'm the person that I am, because you made me a better person. And I'm always aware of all the needs that you have, and my hope is that in the future we can work together to make this a better place for all of us to live.
Annie's goal for many years now has been to return to her homeland following medical school and build a hospital that would provide first world health care to this third world country. It's a monumental task, but not unbelievable, especially when you consider where Annie came from and how she got to this point.
So this here is my classroom. This is where I attended 3rd grade. These were our desks and benches, basically bricks underneath and mud on top. This is still an actively used classroom. And most of the kids just felt privileged to be able to come to school. Not everybody gets that opportunity, and for them to be able to sit in a classroom, they were just lucky. So they wanted to do everything they should do to stay in schools. And this is specifically the church where we lived in. And that was my parents' bedroom. And then the 6 of us slept in this room. So I can show you my crib. So actually my brother and I and my 5 sisters, this is where we slept. We essentially just had a mat on the floor. And because the room wasn't really big enough for all of us to have an individual place, what we did was 3 of us would sleep facing that wall and the other 3 would face that wall so we could all fit on one mat, and then our legs sort of crossed. Everyone else that lived here probably thought we lived in luxury because we actually had an iron roof over our heads, a brick building around us, because then all our neighbors here lived in huts with grass. Most of these people, they grow corn, and this is like a typical place where they would store it. They keep goats and chickens for their food. Most of what they have is what they grow. This was a community. We all kind of grew up together. We played together. If you were sick, everybody came around and helped. And this lady is my neighbor, actually. She's been here a very, very, very long time. And this here is the daughter of one of the girls I grew up with. You want to say hello? She's a little shy.
Most kids who grow up in this environment stay here for life. But because of hard work and intelligence, Annie did what most kids never get to do in Malawi. She went to high school. And it was during that time that a missionary couple visiting from Texas made an offer that few people here could imagine or turn down. If Annie would move to Texas, she would get a free education and the opportunity to be a medical doctor, a highly unlikely option if she stayed in Malawi.
I'm 17. I'd never even been on a plane and traveled overseas and probably had never seen that many white people in that one place. So I was nervous, but I also knew I was winning the lottery. I mean, you know, who wouldn't take it?
Annie embraced high school and even met her future husband Tony there in Texas. She was accepted to medical school where she was both impressive and inspirational. Annie's desire to become a medical student in the United States was born from watching her father, Peter, a nurse practitioner by American standards, but a man with both the reputation and experience of a full-blown doctor in Malawi. And it was by witnessing both what Peter could treat and what he could not treat that fueled his oldest daughter's desire to go into medicine.
There was not very long ago a child that I saw in a district hospital that I was visiting that came in and otherwise looked very healthy, but had an attack of malaria, subsequently developed a very large spleen. Mom had to walk, you know, a good distance to be able to get to the hospital and had to take a bike the rest of the trip, and they showed up at the district hospital when the child was essentially almost, semi-conscious.
Because
He's getting faint. Now to the ICU, and it's the only place where they have oxygen, so we're gonna try to see if we can get her some oxygen. All the efforts that we put into trying to save this child were basically to no positive outcome. I mean, we lost this child who had a hemoglobin of 3, which is close to nothing. There was essentially no blood supply, and that was from malaria.
For 2 many years, Annie and Peter have watched both children and mothers needlessly die from treatable diseases. And it is those experiences that has fueled Annie's desire to build a hospital in her homeland, a lifelong dream of both her and her father.
So we're standing right where the property is. So this is actually where the hospital is going to be.
Fulfilling that dream started several years ago, when Annie and Peter took a substantial financial risk and bought land next to the needy and extensive Maganga village outside of Salima.
Special visiting surgeons.
The ultimate goal? To build a sustainable, comprehensive village that would provide an economic boost to the entire Salima area. And it would start with a church, an orphanage, a school, and of course, a first-class hospital.
We want to be able to improve the treatment of HIV in pregnancy, to reduce the amount of neonatal HIV. We want to be able to improve and bring early diagnosis and treatment of HIV in newborns and children. We want to be able to teach people how to prevent malaria as well as to adequately treat malaria early, because this is a cause of death right now in this particular country, higher than HIV in kids under the age of 5. At this point in Malawi, the average lifespan is 40. Our goal is to try to increase that by 50%. We want the patients that come to this place be those patients that otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to have their lifespan lengthened because they don't have the capability to pay for first world medicine, and we'll give them first world medicine. So I am very proud today that my dad and I are finally standing in this place to introduce the beginning of this project that we've been dreaming about for several years. This is the first step of the beginning of land that was bought years ago, and we hadn't been able to start until today. So this was very exciting. We are seeing the dream unfold today. Yeah. This is great.
Such high aspirations require both divine and earthly intervention. Both Annie and Peter's devout faith has guided them through the hard times.
B. You wanna do A?
Watching Annie at home with her family in Pennsylvania further illustrates her dramatic rise from this rural African village to her current status as a U.S. doctor. Yet the trials to get to where she is today, and where she hopes to be, still pale in comparison to the daily struggles most families face in Malawi. With over 10% of the population now fighting AIDS, her dream is not just relevant. It is a necessary step if these African villages are to survive.
We would want to see most Malawians accessing the best medical care, and I would want us to see them go back to their villages after coming to our clinic. The most dreadful thing is to see them go to the morgue. We want them to go back and continue with their lives and developing our country.
I really believe that this medical facility and this project that I'm involved in is the reason why I was given the incredible opportunity to pursue my dream in the United States. I think I was created for this. I think I was born to do it. I think my dad was my dad because this is what I was meant to do. So he was there to inspire me to become this. So I believe in this. This is what I'm living for. This is why I'm here.
Kwambili, tathokoza kwambili.